For 2 episodes, we've been building a different picture of bone health, one that almost nobody hears in a doctor's office. We started with a simple question: what if one plant could quietly pay off your bone debt? Then we went looking for the forgotten foods that tilt your whole system back toward building instead of breakdown. This is part 3. This is where it stops being theory. If your plan for your bones has mostly been spinach and a calcium pill, this episode is the moment you find out what that plan is really worth and what a different weekly pattern could do instead. Spinach is on almost every healthy eating list. For people worried about their bones, it has been a default green for decades. The calcium numbers on the label look convincing, roughly 260 milligrams per cooked cup. For many people eating to protect their bones, spinach is the green they trust most. And that trust is not entirely misplaced. But there is a part of the story most people have never heard. Spinach is very high in oxalate compounds that bind calcium in the digestive tract before the body has a chance to absorb it. Studies measuring spinach's actual calcium absorption rate put it at approximately 5%. So from a full cooked cup, 260 milligrams on the label, the body receives around 13 milligrams of usable calcium. To accumulate the oxalate load present in half a cup of spinach, a person would need to eat 125 cups of kale. That number is not a typo. That is how wide the gap is. But this is not a reason to stop eating spinach. One raw cup covers over 120% of the daily vitamin K requirement. It delivers meaningful magnesium, folate, iron, and anti-inflammatory compounds that genuinely support the bone environment. So spinach earns its place on the plate, just not as the primary calcium strategy. Now, the difference between these 3 and spinach in usable calcium is not subtle. Collard greens, for example, provide between 268 and 300 milligrams of calcium per cooked cup, close to what milk contains but at an absorption rate near 50% compared to roughly 30 to 35% from dairy. That same cup delivers over 1,000% of the daily vitamin K1 requirement. For anyone anchoring a daily calcium strategy around a single green, collards make the strongest case. Kale is right there with it, and it brings something worth knowing about. It carries the highest vitamin C content of the 3, which matters more than most people realize. Vitamin C is essential for collagen synthesis, the scaffold that calcium mineralizes into. Its calcium bioavailability sits around 59%, and its oxalate load is so negligible that it would take around 125 cups to match what half a cup of spinach contains. Then there is bok choy, the mildest of the 3, quick to cook, straightforward in almost any meal. It delivers approximately 158 milligrams of calcium per cup at a bioavailability near 54%, and it carries selenium, which supports thyroid function. And thyroid health has a direct and underappreciated connection to bone metabolism that rarely surfaces in these conversations. All 3 do the same core job. The one that gets used consistently is the one that matters. So putting this all together does not require a complicated system. Think of it less as a schedule and more as a loose weekly rhythm that can bend around real life. The daily anchor most people find manageable is 3 things: 1 cup of cooked collards, kale, or bok choy for bioavailable calcium and vitamin K, a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric with a pinch of black pepper in at least 1 meal, and 5 to 6 prunes. The dose from the Penn State trial preserved hip bone mineral density over 12 months in postmenopausal women, while those eating none lost measurable density and saw fracture risk increase. The boosters from Part 2 simply rotate across the week wherever they fit. Moringa powder in a smoothie or broth a few times. A nettle infusion steeped for 4 to 8 hours when there is time. And a generous handful of fresh parsley used as a real ingredient rather than a garnish. The goal is a pattern that feels natural enough to sustain, because the pattern over months is what actually moves the needle. With that weekly rhythm in place, spinach finds its proper role. It belongs in the mix, just not as the primary calcium source. It earns its place for vitamin K, magnesium, iron, and folate, all of which genuinely contribute to the bone environment. One practical note worth knowing: eating large amounts of spinach alongside calcium-rich foods in the same meal can temporarily reduce absorption from those other foods as well. So giving spinach its own meals, or pairing it with foods valued for nutrients other than calcium, sidesteps that simply. For anyone who grows food at home, most of the greens in this series translate well to a garden or container. Kale and collard greens are cold-tolerant and productive in raised beds. Bok choy grows quickly, 45 to 60 days from seed, and prefers cooler temperatures. Parsley grows reliably in a container near the kitchen year-round in mild climates. And stinging nettle is perennial across most temperate regions, but spreads readily, so a clearly defined bed is worth planning for before it goes in. If you only have space for two things, choose one hardy leafy green and an absurd amount of parsley. That small corner of a garden or a couple of containers on a porch covers the daily calcium and vitamin K that this entire series was built around. Some people call it a bone bed, and once you have one, it is hard to imagine the kitchen without it. Bone health is not built in a single week. It is built in patterns that accumulate slowly, the same way the remodeling cycle itself runs continuously without pause. So start with 1 or 2 changes, 5 to 6 prunes each day, 1 bone green at a consistent meal. Hold that steady for a few weeks before adding anything else. And if you started here, parts 1 and 2 are there when you are ready for the full science and stories behind each plant. Your doctor can measure your bone density, but only you decide what your bones are built from every single day. Start with 1 change, keep it steady, and let time work with you instead of against you.